His son, Ethan, was still asleep in the next room, wrapped in a blanket that had once belonged to his mother. Mark stood in the doorway for a moment, watching his chest rise and fall. That simple sight gave him enough strength to face another impossible day. Mark was a single dad. He hadn't planned on it. No one ever does. 3 years earlier, his wife, Laura, had passed away after a short, brutal illness. One day she was laughing in their kitchen. The next she was gone, leaving behind a heartbroken husband and a little boy who didn't understand why mommy wasn't coming home. The world didn't stop after Laura died. Bills still came. Rent still had to be paid. Ethan still needed food, clothes, school supplies, and most importantly, his father. So Mark did what he had to do. By day, he worked as a delivery driver for a local warehouse, hauling boxes, running routes, and smiling through exhaustion. By night, he worked at a 24-hour diner off the interstate, refilling coffee cups for truckers and wiping down tables long after his feet had gone numb. 2 jobs. No days off. Not because he wanted more money, but because he wanted more chances. Chances for Ethan to grow up safe. Chances for him to dream. Ethan loved drawing. Not the kind of doodling most kids did, but real drawing, detailed sketches of city skylines, superheroes, animals, and imaginary worlds. Teachers noticed. One of them even told Mark, "Your son has real talent." Those words stuck in Mark's mind like a promise and a burden all at once. Talent meant potential. Potential meant opportunity. An opportunity often meant money they didn't have. Every evening, after Mark came home from the diner around 1 in the morning, he would find drawings taped to the fridge. Crayon at first. Then pencils. Later, cheap colored markers Mark bought from the dollar store. "Look, Dad," Ethan would say in the mornings, holding up a new sketch with pride. "I'm gonna be an artist one day." Mark always smiled, even when his chest tightened. "You will be," he said. "I promise." But promises are heavy when you're already carrying so much. There were days when Mark's body felt like it was shutting down. He missed sleep. He missed meals. Sometimes he'd sit in his truck between jobs, gripping the steering wheel, wondering how long a person could keep going like this. The answer he learned was longer than you think when someone depends on you. One winter evening, everything nearly fell apart. The warehouse announced cutbacks. Mark's hours were reduced. At the same time, the diner's heating system broke, forcing it to close for repairs. Suddenly, the fragile balance he'd built collapsed. Mark sat at the kitchen table that night. Bills spread out like accusations. Rent, electricity, school fees. His hands shook as he did the math. It didn't work. Ethan noticed. "Dad," he asked softly, "are we in trouble?" Mark looked at his son. This small person who had already lost his mother and now watched his father struggle every day. He swallowed hard. "We're okay," he said. "We always will be." But later that night, alone in the bathroom, Mark cried silently so Ethan wouldn't hear. The next week, Mark sold his old guitar, the one Laura loved hearing him play. It hurt more than he expected, but it paid the electric bill. Then he picked up odd jobs. Shoveling snow, fixing fences, helping neighbors move. One Saturday, while Mark was out working, Ethan stayed with Mrs. Carter, an elderly neighbor who had known Laura well. She watched Ethan draw at the kitchen table for hours. "You know," she said gently, "there's a local art contest for kids. Winner gets a scholarship for art classes." Ethan's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Yes," she smiled. "You should enter." That night, Ethan told Mark about the contest, excitement spilling out of him. Mark nodded, hiding his worry. The entry fee wasn't much, but it was still money. That night, he skipped dinner and used the cash he'd saved for gas. "Go for it," he told Ethan. "Show them what you can do." For weeks, Ethan worked on his drawing. A city at sunrise filled with people going to work, helping each other, chasing dreams. In the corner, a small figure held the hand of a taller one. When Mark saw it, his throat closed. "Who's that?" he asked. "That's us," Ethan said simply. The day of the contest, Mark took time off work, unpaid, to attend. He stood in the back of the room, exhausted, nervous, and proud all at once. When the winner was announced, time seemed to stop. And first place goes to Ethan Thompson. Ethan froze. Then he ran to his father, who dropped to his knees and hugged him so tightly people around them wiped away tears. That scholarship didn't solve all their problems. Mark still worked 2 jobs. He was still tired, still worried, but something had changed. Ethan believed in himself, and Mark believed that maybe, just maybe, their struggle had meaning. Years passed. Mark kept grinding. Ethan kept drawing. The fridge filled with new artwork, then the walls, then portfolios. One day, Ethan received an acceptance letter to a prestigious art school, with financial aid. Mark read the letter 3 times, hands trembling. "You did it," he whispered. "You really did it." Ethan shook his head. "No, Dad. We did." On move-in day, Mark helped carry boxes up to Ethan's dorm room. His back ached. His hands were rough. His eyes were tired, but his heart was full. As he drove home alone, Mark realized something important. Dreams don't come true because life is easy. They come true because someone loves you enough to make life harder for themselves.